have an hour. There's a whole lot I want to unpack in this hour with you, and we'll get into your book, a short history rather, of black craft in 10 objects. How you chose 10, I do not know. We'll get to that. It's going to be a great hour with Robel. But let me just start. This audience knows I do this all the time. I am always fascinated by the backstory of people's lives, and yours is quite fascinating for me. You are a celebrated designer. You are a chair maker. You are a researcher. You are an educator, and you do a lot of stuff. But as it relates to your art, to your artisanship, give me the backstory. I'm fascinated about your life, your upbringing, how you got into this space of being a black artisan. Tell me more, Robel.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for that introduction. Yeah, it's been a long journey. I working with my hands and learning things that when I was in college wasn't really offered at the time. So my background is
hold up. You got me curious already, and I'm a curious person by nature, as you can imagine. So if you drop, it's one thing to drop out second year.
Hard to make that break, and I really couldn't do it until I went to college and was just like, I really just got to follow my heart.
How much of that? I'll get to following your heart in a second, I promise. How much of? And I'm asking this for a particular reason. There are a lot of folks listening who I think may be benefited, empowered, in fact, by your answer to this question. How much of, with all due respect to your loving Ethiopian family, how much of your going in the first place, to my earlier question, had to do with not wanting to let your family down, family expectations that you would receive a higher education?
Everything.
Wow.
Everything.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything. Yeah. I think I didn't want to let down those expectations, and I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense for all black families, really. It's just that wanting something better, wanting to position your children with, more advantages. And it's unfortunate that going into higher education seems to be the only path when there used to be a lot more paths. Having a career in the trades, it still is it can be very lucrative, but it is getting harder and harder to be a lucrative profession.
Yeah. Just getting started. Going to be a great hour, as I told you, with Robel Oweka. His book is called A Short History of Black Craft in 10 Objects. We're spending this hour, as we are inside of Black History Month, no better time to do this, talking about the role that black folk have played as artisans, the impact we've had on the art in this country. You hear me say all the time, certainly this time of the year, quoting W.B. Du Bois, would America have been America without her Negro people? We know the answer, absolutely not. There is no America without the contributions of black people, and you can say that without impugning any other race of people, any other culture. But the country just wouldn't be without our contributions. And so we spend this hour talking about the impact we've had on art, specifically the lane that black artisans have occupied. Clearly, college ain't for everybody, as I abuse the King's English. College ain't for everybody, and Robel Oweka has done quite well, and I'm delighted to have him on this program for the rest of the hour. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
This is an ad by BetterHelp Online Therapy. When it comes to relationships, we often hear about the red flags we should avoid, but it's just as important to focus on the green flags. Think about how you want a relationship to feel, one where your boundaries are respected and you're encouraged to be your best self. If you're not sure what that looks like, therapy can help you identify those qualities so you can embody the green flag energy yourself and find it in others. Because whether you're dating, married, or building a friendship, it's time to form relationships that love you back. BetterHelp connects you to a diverse network of over 30,000 therapists worldwide with expertise in a wide range of issues, from depression and anxiety to work and relationships. It's 100% online and sign up only takes a few minutes. Find your green flag energy with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/ABCRadio today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/ABCRadio.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed with Robel Aweka, whose new book is called A Short History of Black Craft in 10 Objects. We'll get into some of those objects as we move through this hour, but the impact that black folk have had on art in this country is undeniable, and I'm delighted to have this brilliant black artisan on our program for the rest of the hour to talk about what that looks like, and of course his new text. So I said a moment ago that college ain't for everybody, and it's not. But I hasten to add, I should have said this then, but I was up against that break. College ain't for everybody, but lifelong learning is. That's the key. College may not be the answer to the prayer for you, but lifelong learning is a must. We must all be students. For the breadth and depth of our lives, for the range of our lives. We should all be in that frame of realizing that every day we get a chance to learn something a little bit better, something different. I say all the time that every day I leave this studio, I walk out much smarter than when I came in. So for me, it's about lifelong learning, and I hope it is for you as well. Just wanted to put that rejoinder on my comment about college. That said, Robel, you go to Howard. You quit in the first semester because you realized that that's really not your calling. And I ain't mad at you about that, because I believe that every one of us in life has to be in search of not a job, not just a profession, but our calling, our avocation. What did the good Lord create you for? What is your purpose? Why are you here? Back to that point about lifelong learning. You figure that out the more you learn. So you leave after the first semester. What happens next? I'm just trying to understand your backstory and how you got in this artisan lane. Tell me more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I just want to agree with that 110%, because I do. Yeah, I mean, I think that, the older I get, the more I'm kind of stepping into that calling and being more confident in kind of like those decisions making sense, and I think so directly after Howard, I had a brother living in New York. I went to go live with him and just work. I had started working while I was in high school in food service, and, just kept working. And I just, I just wanted to try different things. I was a bike messenger for 3 years, delivering packages. I bartended for several years.
You were a bike messenger in New York City?
In Atlanta. I'm sorry. I moved back to Atlanta.
Okay, got it. Now, I only ask that, not that Atlanta's much better these days with all the traffic y'all have in Atlanta these days, but I only ask that because every time I see a bike messenger in New York, I say a prayer for them, because how they navigate all that crazy traffic in Manhattan, especially on those bicycles, is quite another thing. But Atlanta, like I said, y'all got your own share of traffic these days. So anyway, I'm sorry. Continue on.
No. We do. Yeah, it's the traffic here has been horrendous for some time, and I know LA has it too. So
no question.
But Yeah, but so yeah, I was a bike messenger for a few years. I just worked a lot of different jobs. Not having a degree, it kind of limits things a little bit, somewhat. But I felt really like I was doing the things I was pursuing things I was interested in. I was trying different things. But what I really stuck with was construction and carpentry. And I welded for a few years. But that led me into getting more interested in furniture about 10 years ago. Yeah.
Furniture. Unpack that for me. All kinds of furniture. I mean, obviously you're a chair maker, but tell me what it was about furniture specifically that was calling your name, as it were.
Yeah, I think it was just, when I was in construction, I really liked it. It just felt like something that, made sense. And I think first I was, from framing homes, I kind of I like the detail. I like the attention to detail and the thoughtfulness in making things and putting things together and figuring out how things have to work. So that kind of just led itself to me wanting to do something more, with a little more attention to detail, I guess. So that's how I got interested in furniture.
Got it. So tell me, you can answer this question, of course, any way you choose to, and I'm just going to ask it broadly, deliberately and unapologetically. Tell me specifically about chair making. Just talk to me about chair making.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated that you are a black guy who makes chairs. Talk to me about chair making.
Yeah. Yeah. So with chair making too, like chair making is something that I even found. So 10 years ago, so let me backtrack. So 10 years ago, I got into furniture. I'm largely self-taught. The only formal training I had was a 2-week workshop at a craft school in Boston called the North Bennett Street School. And that was primarily to learn how to use hand tools because I was really interested in learning how to use chisels and hand planes and gouges. And I felt like the kind of the more artsy side of woodworking because at that point, I had learned how to use the machines and kind of just make basic things, tables and whatnot. So I wanted to get kind of more what I felt like would unlock kind of a more creative aspect of woodworking. And then from there, chair making is its own kind of niche thing, it's typically what's called a lot of chair makers. If you're doing it in a traditional way, it's what's called green woodworking. So essentially I start from a log on the ground and I split out all the parts myself, process it. And I primarily use hand tools to make all my chairs. So no machine.
So hold up. Now this is getting fascinating for me. So you literally start with you start with a log.
That's right. Yeah.
And what do you do next?
So there's a log on the ground, typically a domestic hardwood.
Right.
Regionally in the Southeast, that's oak, ash, hickory, maple. So what I'll do is I'll take wedges and a sledgehammer and start a split. Hold up. Where
do you find the log? You chop down this tree? Is the log laying on the ground? Where do you find the log?
I don't. You know what? I don't, because I live in Southwest Atlanta. I'm in the city. My backyard is almost non-existent.
Right.
So what I do is luckily I've been doing it long enough to know some chair makers who live a little bit further out, who have more property and who I get logs from.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So continue. So you find the log, and then what happens? Walk me through this.
Yeah. So I find the log, and then what I'll do is I'll start on an end, and I'll basically take wedges and start a split. And the reason for it, it's not just kind of like a romantic, thing like, I want to feel like I'm in the 1800s making a chair. Although it's like that, there's something cool about that. I'm not going to lie. But also there is a utility in splitting out your parts, because when you split parts, the wood fibers stay together and they split and separate in the strongest possible way. So you're not cutting across fibers. So typically when you get wood at a lumber yard, what they'll do is they have a sawmill. So it's like a big saw, and it cuts it into boards. So that's just like, doing whatever it wants to the wood and cutting it across the grain. You're not really respecting the integrity of the fiber, of the material. And with a chair, that's probably the most used and abused furniture there is. It bears weight. It's got to be durable. But you also don't want to make it bulky, so to make it elegant and durable, you really have to keep the integrity of those wood fibers. And the only way to do that is to split your parts.
So when you start splitting these parts, and you're cutting your way into this log, Do you have in your mind's eye, or have you already sketched out what this chair that you're about to make looks like or should look like?
Somewhat. And so the chairs I'm making now is it's like a Appalachian style called the ladder back chair.
Uh-huh.
And kind of like in American decorative arts, there's two sort of what they would think of as the quintessential American chairs. One is the Windsor chair, which is kind of like some people see it as like higher style. And then there's a ladder back chair, which is kind of what it sounds like. The back looks like a ladder.
Mm-hmm.
So the back posts are vertical, and then there's these back slats that are horizontal that connect the back posts, and it kind of looks like a ladder. And I started making these chairs because of a story that I profile in the book of Richard Pointer,
mm-hmm.
who was an enslaved chair maker from Central Tennessee, who really pioneered the ladder back form into what we think of as a modern day ladder back is a Pointer chair.
Mm-hmm. Tell me, we're in Black History Month, and this is getting really fascinating for me. Since we're there, you're there. Go ahead and tell me more about this brother who really pioneered this kind of chair in slavery, no less.
Yes, it's such an incredible story. So he moved to Williamson County, Tennessee, with his enslaver in the early 1800s from Halifax, Virginia, and he started making ladder back chairs while still enslaved. And the only reason really we know his story, a lot of the reason we still have his story, is because he took out an ad while he was still enslaved. This was a few years before the Civil War, so in the 1850s,
mm-hmm.
where he was claiming authorship for this style. He says, "I'm the maker of the original Pointer chair." And he was advertising himself. Now that's incredibly significant in antebellum times. I can't even imagine.
I'm laughing.
What did it take for this? Yeah,
I'm laughing, Robel. I'm laughing because this guy was on the branding tip before the word branding was ever known.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was like, "This is mine.
It's my brand."
Like,
yeah.
Stop jacking my style. Stop, And it did become ubiquitous in this area.
Yeah.
It became ubiquitous, and what we know this chair as a mule-eared ladder back. And in decorative arts terms, they say, "Oh, it's from the ladder back chairs in Appalachian tradition." This particular style is called the mule-eared ladder back because he kind of made these subtle tweaks that made the chair more ergonomic and more beautiful. And it became what was once seen as the commoner's chair, whereas the Windsor chair was kind of like the enslaving elite plantation owner would have Windsor chairs in their house. They started buying Pointer's chairs because he made this, what was seen as a commoner's chair, really elegant.
Mm-hmm. You've in part answered my question now. He pioneers this. It's really his model, his design. It's his chair. He takes out an ad to let everybody know this is my brand. Don't try to steal my stuff. Give me a sense of how the good white folk embraced his creations.
So he was actually celebrated. He was celebrated in this time period, and I think as I dug into the story further, there's a lot of elements to it which aren't unique to the Pointer story. One is that he was most likely the son of his enslaver, Robert Pointer,
mm-hmm.
through oral history of his complexion, through him being listed on census data as mulatto, that he was the child of his enslaver. And he was kind of, he probably had a little bit more advantages because of this. He was probably more accepted a little bit because of this, as much as one could be in this time period. But what is significant about that ad, though, is that it coincides with when his potential father, but his definite enslaver, passes away, and when he is, quote unquote, inherited by the enslaver's son, which is possibly his half brother.
Now, that is a fascinating story.
It's just such a crazy time period,
Yeah. Let me. I'm jumping back and forth here, so forgive me. Back to your chairs. So you have some sense when you when you start splitting these logs, what your chair is going to look like. You make these chairs for what purpose? You sell them? Like, I'm talking about your chairs now specifically.
Yeah. I do sell them. And like more recently, so I just last year, this is going to sound really bougie, but I'm represented by an art gallery.
Okay.
And they sell my work now, so I don't personally sell it.
I ain't mad at you. Robel. It's called branding, Robel. It's called branding.
Yesterday's price. Yeah, I was gonna say yesterday's price is not today's price.
No, I ain't mad at you about that part. Give me a sense of the kind of customers who this gallery sells your stuff to.
Yeah, so last year I had 2 chairs acquired by the Art Institute of Chicago, and this year I have a commission coming up from the Baltimore Museum of Art, and then I actually have a solo show coming up at their gallery this April, and their gallery is in Chicago.
Wow. How long? I'm asking these basic questions because, as you can tell, I'm fascinated by this. How long does it take, Robel, to make a chair?
It takes, I think. So I because now I'm kind of making more like, they're kind of art pieces.
Right.
And to go back to your question too about like, I have like a design or something in mind. Loosely, I have an idea, the structure of which is based off the pointer chair. I also am really adamant about renaming this style of chair the Mueller ladderback a pointer chair. So taking that name and using it and saying like, I make pointer chairs. I make chair in the pointer tradition is very important in what I'm doing and in naming my work. But also, I think I added something new to it, which is that I carve the backs. And that's inspired by another chair tradition from Ethiopia, the Jimma chairs, which are very sculptural, beautiful chairs that are typically carved out of a single log. And they have these sort of abstract geometric patterns carved through the backs of the chairs. So I kind of added that element to it to kind of come up with sort of a new form that speaks to that, that dual identity of being Ethiopian, being Black in America. And I feel like it embodies that in a sort of organic way. No,
I love the fact that you are intentional and unapologetic about putting Mr. Pointer's name on your work and making other folk respect historically what he accomplished and achieved. We've already learned a great deal in this first half hour talking with Robel Oweka, and I look forward to the second half hour of this conversation. But my takeaway already, and I hope yours is as well, is that there are 2 basic kinds of chairs, right? And one of those chairs that you've no doubt sat in any number of times, maybe sitting in one right now, listening to Robel and me, is a chair that was designed, created ultimately by a Black man. Who knew? This is why I do this show every day. I love learning. A short history of Black craft in 10 objects. We'll get some of those objects when we come forward with our guest, Robel Oweka, the author of that text. Delighted to have him on Tavis Smiley right now.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like to check your sunroof is closed first before driving through the car wash.
Whoa. No. Wait. Whoa.
Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. The Palisades and Eaton wildfires could become the second costliest U.S. natural disaster after Hurricane Katrina, with estimated economic losses of $95 to $164 billion and uninsured losses of $75 billion. President Trump at the National Prayer Breakfast emphasized the need to bring religion back, stating the nation is one nation under God. He also mentioned surviving an assassination attempt last July, attributing it to divine protection. A study in the Lancet Respiratory Medicine Journal found lung cancer is the 5th leading cause of cancer deaths among lifelong non-smokers, with air pollution being a major factor. Most of the world population lived in areas with poor air quality as of 2019. And the first trailer for the new animated Smurfs movie starring Rihanna as Smurfette is out. The film, based on the classic Belgian comic books, hits theaters on July 18th. I'm Bree Wood on the Black Information Network, your home for Black News First.
If you were self-employed or a 1099 contractor and missed work because you had COVID or cared for an immediate family member with COVID in 2021, you may qualify for up to $32,000 for the Sick and Family Leave Credit. Visit taxcreditnow.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man.
The Lakers made a trade folks have been expecting after sending Anthony Davis to Dallas. Needing a quality big man in the middle to replace AD, the Lakers traded for Charlotte Hornets center Mark Williams, a 7-footer in his third season out of Duke. Williams is averaging 15.6 points and 9.8 rebounds. To get Williams, the Lakers gave Charlotte first-round pick Dalton Knecht, Cam Reddish, and a couple of future draft picks. It was tough for the Lakers to let Knecht go. Among NBA rookies, Knecht ranks 5th in scoring and 2nd in three-pointers. The UCLA women's basketball team set a school record with 22 straight wins. The Bruins beat Ohio State 65-52, 19 points and 14 rebounds for Lauren Betts. The number 1 Bruins are 22-0, 10-0 in the Big Ten Conference. USC's women's basketball team ranked 7th in the country, cruised to an 86-64 win at Wisconsin. 15 points for Kiki Irefin, 14 for Juju Watkins. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
Are you a recent college graduate with a dream of getting a high-paying job in sales? A job where you can grow a lucrative career in multi-platform audio, digital, podcast, social media, and local events, along with world-class training and career growth opportunities. KBLA Talk 1580, located in historic Leimert Park, is currently hiring entry-level account executives for outside sales. Join a team featuring radio hosts Tavis Smiley, Dr. Cornell West, Jesse Jackson Jr., D.L. Hughley, Dr. Nee Cordelai Corte, Zoe Williams, and our very own Dominique DePrima. For more information on attending our upcoming career fair, contact SMB at KBLA1580.com today.
He's a paradigm pioneer
And the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
From the enslaved potters of old Edgefield, South Carolina, to Ann Lowe, the couture dressmaker who made Jacqueline Kennedy's wedding dress, from Philip Simmons's gorgeous ironwork seen throughout Charleston and exhibited all over the world, to the Gullah sweetgrass basket makers whose art, rooted in tradition, continues to evolve and thrive well into this century. A short history of black craft in 10 objects illuminates the work of generations of black artisans, some who have become well known, others who have remained unidentified. I am delighted to have the author of this new book, A Short History of Black Craft in 10 Objects, Robel Aweka, as our guest in this hour. in Black History Month. What a great celebration of all these black artisans. Again, some whose names we know, some whose names we don't know, and we've learned already about the pointer chair. I knew about the Eames chair, but now I've learned about the pointer chair. Courtesy of Robel Aweka. Sometimes I feel a little stupid on this program. I have a set of Eames chairs, a couple sets, in fact, and they're comfortable and they're nice, and I love them. But now I'm going to go in search of some old pointer chairs, and yeah, man. I are there since I just raised that. Let me just ask. I would assume, you tell me, that if you can find a chair actually made by Mr. Pointer, obviously it ain't cheap, but how much of his stuff is still in circulation?
Yeah, so there you can still, I think now more people in the past decade, largely because of a local historian from Williamson County named Rick Warwick. Mm-hmm. He has written about Pointer, so his story has kind of gotten out there in recent years, but you can still, if you go to flea markets around Tennessee, Franklin, Tennessee, Williamson County, you might be able to find a Pointer chair. And you know, he's starting to get in collections now. The Yale Furniture Collection, which is a really big one, has a Pointer chair. The Tennessee State Museum has a couple of Pointer chairs. The Museum of Early Southern Decorative Arts in Winston-Salem has a Pointer chair. So he's starting to get his flowers.
No, he deserves them. He deserves them, and we're thanks to you, we're learning, you and others, but learning more about this Mr. Pointer, who even as a slave put his imprint, I should say, on this chair that we're still celebrating all these years later. You say in this book, and I was fascinated by this. I want to give you a chance to sort of unpack this for me, Robel. You say in the book that black craft traditions have been pushing the boundaries of art and craft for generations while simultaneously resisting oppression and erasure. It's a powerful phrase, a powerful sentence. Unpack that for me.
Yes, I mean, I feel like that's a through line in basically all of these stories, whether it's Harriet Powers, who was a phenomenal quilt maker from Athens, Georgia, who was making these narrative quilts that were pedagogical overtly, you know, telling biblical stories as well as folk stories that were significant to her and her community at this time. You know, I learned about the Leonid meteor shower of 1833, which I never learned in school, from her quilt. And I learned about the significance because of this quilt square, which was just so captivating to me aesthetically. I was just like, this is dope. I want to know what she's trying to say with this. So I did some research. And the Leonid meteor shower of 1833 was what it sounds like, just shooting stars that you could see from anywhere in North America. And at the time, to the enslaved, this was a sign. People thought it was either Judgment Day, the rapture, or it was kind of a sign that better days were to come. And it was a time-fixing device. People used it to know when, you know, people were born, before the days the stars fell or after. And Louis Armstrong and Ella Fitzgerald, you know, wrote the song "Stars Fell on Alabama" about this event. You know, giving further to, you know, she basically gave her own visual language to a rich oral tradition, which long kept the stories of Black history and Black achievement as an antidote to being erased from the archive formally.
We've talked about the book. I want to get straightway inside the book now. Before I do that, I am curious as to the backstory. You've learned by now I love backstories, right? So I'm curious as to the backstory of how this book came to be, written by this college dropout, no less. Tell me the backstory. Tell me the backstory of how this book concept, this idea came to you, Robel Aweka.
Yeah. So it kind of, you know, in a crazy way, it kind of fell in my lap, you know, and which kind of points more to the fact that I just feel like it was meant to be, like I was called to do this work. Is, you know, I started doing this kind of research around decorative arts and crafts a few years ago, and through that research, it got me to speak at different things, you know, whether it be sort of more trade, like the Furniture Society, or at Warren Wilson College and different craft and art programs. And through that, an editor at Princeton Architectural Press, you know, saw some of that and reached out to me and asked if I'd be interested in turning the research into a book.
Now the obvious question, a short history of Black craft in 10 objects. why 10? And we won't run the list of all 10, but just give me an overview of the 10 objects.
Yeah, so the 10 objects range from, I go throughout time. I think part of what I'm trying to do is just show how craft and objects are in archive when Black people were left out of the archive. They tell overt stories like the quilt of Harriet Powers. They also tell meta stories in the material that was chosen to be used, in the process of how things were made. And I feel like as a craftsperson, I'm kind of positioned to decipher that language of craft, and tell a story through how things were made. But yeah, so, we have the quilts of Gee's Bend, which to me is America's first abstract art form, way before Jackson Pollock, that, for generations, Black women in Gee's Bend, Alabama, were creating this sophisticated abstract visual language outside of the white gaze, doing their own thing just for themselves and their community. To also, the gates of Philip Simmons, who was a 20th century blacksmith, kind of an anachronistic thing when welding was taking over and more, manufactured the foundry system and kind of mass producing metal goods and things like that. Charleston has always had a rich tradition of wrought iron, decorative gates and window grills. And Philip Simmons kept that alive through being a traditional blacksmith up into the 20th centuries. Up until the early 2000s, really. He was operating for nearly 8 decades in Charleston, using a hammer and an anvil, making these phenomenal decorative gates throughout Charleston. And, Ann Lowe, who was couture dressmaker, who made the dress for Jacqueline Kennedy, very famous dress. Her name often gets left out of history of that dress, a lot of it due to her being snubbed by Jacqueline Kennedy when she talked about the dress at that time period, never mentioned her name, because that was just kind of tradition to, leave out the name of the Black women who oftentimes made the dresses for elite white society. Being a seamstress was like a Black woman's thing in America for a very long period of time. So she wasn't acknowledged for being the custom dressmaker that she really was.
Well, she's being acknowledged now by Robel Oweka in his new book, A Short History of Black Craft and 10 Objects. Her name is Ann Lowe, L-O-W-E, and now you know that Ann Lowe was the couture dressmaker, the Black woman who made Jackie Kennedy's wedding dress. Now you know. That's why I love Black History Month, and we get the opportunity to bring stuff to you that you otherwise might not have been aware of. You heard Robel a moment ago mention Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong. You can't mention those kind of names to me and not expect that I'm going to give you a little taste of it. Here's the song. He referenced Stars Fell on Alabama.
We kissed in a field of white, and stars fell on Alabama last night. Oh, yes. I can't forget the glamour your eyes held a tender light, and stars fell on Alabama last night.
From the Mert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stopped, opt out. Individual results may vary. Consult a doctor prior to use.
You've lost so much weight. How'd you do it?
I got medical treatment for weight loss through Zelty and lost 50 pounds. I struggled for the longest time, but Zelty makes it easy and affordable to get weight loss treatment 100% online. Zelty providers can prescribe FDA-approved weight loss medications clinically shown to help people lose weight, like Wegovy, Zepbound, and others.
I've heard those medications can help you lose weight, but aren't they expensive?
Zelty can help get the medication covered by
by insurance, so it's as little as $0 a month.
What if you don't have insurance?
No problem. Zelty may be able to help you get other GLP-1 medications for 80 to 90% off the price of name brand medications.
I'm ready to start losing weight. How do I get started with Zelty?
Just text.
Text SUNNY to 200-300 to get started today with Zelty and see if weight loss medications like Wegovy and Zepbound are right for you. Don't wait. Text now for a link to your exclusive offer. Text SUNNY to 200-300. That's SUNNY to 200-300. SUNNY to 200-300.
Well, good morning, kiddo. I love that you're home from college. I've missed you.
Still taking your nature-made vitamins?
Every day. A multivitamin and a probiotic. You better be taking yours.
Still looking out for me, Mom.
I'll never stop.
Made to care for you every day. Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist-recommended vitamin and supplement brand. Find us in the vitamin aisle, based on a survey of pharmacists who recommend branded vitamins and supplements.
They can do anything they want to us. We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips, and I am a revolutionary.
On Saturday, February 22nd, you are invited to A Night with the Panthers, a special fundraiser dedicated to supporting Black Panther veterans who now require assistance with essential needs such as medicine, food, and housing. These Black Panther veterans championed human rights, fed the hungry, educated the community, and stood as powerful symbols of resistance and resilience. Despite their incredible sacrifices, loving and serving the people did not come with retirement plans or financial security. So, now it's our time to honor their legacy and ensure that they are cared for with the dignity they deserve. You can help by attending and supporting A Night with the Panthers, Saturday, February 22nd, 6:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. at the Project 43 Team Post Center, 6841 Crenshaw Boulevard, Los Angeles. For more information, contact Black Panther Party Breakfast at gmail.com or call 707-554-2784. That's Black Panther Party Breakfast at gmail.com or call 707-554-2784. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Robel Aweka, I think you'll appreciate this comment from one of our listeners right now. Mr. Smiley, I would only add a comment to you and Mr. Aweka. If he and his publishers are feeling generous, they might want to send a copy of his book to that anti-woke ignoramus Ron DeSantis to counter and combat his contention that enslaved Africans in the U.S. benefited from the wretchedness inflicted upon them by allowing them to learn and acquire skills. I thought you'd appreciate that, Robel.
You know what? I would be glad to personally send him one. And also I want to add to that, we're talking about what's foundational to white supremacy, and that's the erasure of what we did.
Yes.
That's precisely why, this country is built upon, it is predicated upon, the status quo is predicated upon these stories remaining erased.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what fuels that ignorance.
Yeah. To your point now, say a bit more then, if you will, about how this work and history is central to the story of American art.
Absolutely, because I think, before there was a quote unquote art world, and an art market, there was craft. There was people making the things that they needed for their lives and expressing brilliance, creativity, their own idiosyncratic, aesthetics through what they made for their daily lives and what they made for their community, So I think that to me, that's kind of my canon for art, and that's, and really in doing this research, it was a lot of it was for my own practice, my own artistic practice. Because, the furniture that is accessible through magazines and publications isn't furniture I'm in dialogue with or I want to be in dialogue with. It's not aesthetics that I feel like represent me. And even in the way in how I make my chairs now, I make the pointer form, but I also I improvise, and improvisation is such a time-honored Black modality across the diaspora, across different artistic mediums. So I make sure that I leave elements of it open, especially in the carvings, to riff and to do different things with it in the moment.
Our remaining moments with Robel Oweka when we come forward. The book is called A Short History of Black Craft in 10 Objects. Thrilled to have him for this hour on Tavis Smiley.
Helping to stretch your moral and political imagination. This is Tavis Smiley.
Sherry, what have you done to your hair?
What do you mean? Does it not look good?
It doesn't look good. It looks freaking amazing. I can't believe how thick and healthy it looks. Oh, I must know your secret.
No secret. It's hair volume from New Nordic.
Hair volume, huh? Well, it certainly lives up to its name. Your hair has never looked so thick. It is gorgeous.
I was so tired of having thin and brittle hair. Ugh, and the shedding. So I figured I'd give hair volume a try. Needless to say, I'm thrilled with the results. Hey, where are you going?
I'm gonna pick up some hair volume right now. My reunion's next month and I want my hair to look as good as yours.
Hair Volume is the best-selling hair tablet in the world and one of many award-winning natural health products from New Nordic, the #1 supplier of dietary supplements in Scandinavia. Purchase at newnordicusa.com or your local CVS. Available as a tablet or delicious gummy. Help your hair look full, voluminous, and beautiful again at newnordicusa.com or CVS.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project. Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Life blooms in beautiful ways. The Afia Center invites you to celebrate At the End with Red Gala, honoring the strength and resilience of Black women living with HIV. Join us for an evening of empowerment as we launch the Barbara Cambridge Scholarship and kick off Her Story Month with our theme, Life in Full Bloom. Your support helps create vital HIV programming and builds a future where every voice is heard and every story matters. The End with Red Gala, because every flower deserves to bloom. To learn more and to donate, visit theafiacenter.org.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
A Short History of Black Craft in 10 Objects is written by Robel Oweka, celebrated designer, chairmaker, researcher, and educator. He explores in this text the fascinating stories, some of which we've unpacked in this hour, behind 10 cornerstone examples of black craft, including furniture, pottery, quilts, ironwork, fashion, and more. As I said earlier, America just would not be without the grand contributions of black folk in every field of human endeavor. Robel, when you set out to write this book, and by the way, it's a beautiful piece of work. The illustrations, the art, it's beautifully laid out, as people will discover when they pick up a copy of A Short History of Black Craft in 10 Objects. When you set out to do this, what were your hopes for takeaways for readers?
Yeah, I think, one of the biggest takeaways is kind of what that caller kind of insinuated, which is that I think, I do think after 2020, after BLM in the summer of 2020, I feel like for a lot of white folks, especially moderates and liberals, there was an expanding of consciousness around kind of the extent to which enslaved labor power built the foundations of not only the American economy, but the entire Western world.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what also gets left out a lot in those conversations is the technology and the skill and the innovation that was not only pioneered in America by enslaved Africans and free people of color, but people of African descent brought and were hunted and captured because of their skills. And I think so much of this idea that, that there was some sort of advantage, like DeSantis says, to, modernizing African peoples, and that just that racist kind of myth, so much of that only lives because these stories get erased, because we were not allowed to be in the archive in so many ways. And, not being against the law to be literate, like the most evil thing you could imagine, like people not being allowed to read and write and learn their own histories, I think primarily I want people to take away that a lot of that story of the ingenuity and the skill and the technical skill that people had is in the things that they made.
Yeah. And my assumption is that you're going to continue making that stuff.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm going to, keep sharing these stories and kind of embodying these stories in my work. And, who knows, maybe there'll be a volume 2 and another 10 objects.
I hope so. I have enjoyed this one, this initial text immensely, as I have enjoyed our conversation about it. The book is called A Short History of Black Craft in 10 Objects. The author of that book is Robel Aweka. I love, as a matter of fact, I hope I pronounced your last name fairly correctly over the course of this hour. Have I?
Yes, you did. Very good. Aweka, yep.
Yeah, what's amazing about it is his last name is actually spelled Awake. Awake.
Yes.
It's spelled awake.
It's a good name for an artist.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. I was just going to say that it's a great name for an artist. It's spelled Awake, awake, but it's pronounced Aweka. As he mentioned, he has Ethiopian roots, and again, I've enjoyed this immensely. It's called, once again, A Short History of Black Craft in 10 Objects. Not bad for a Howard University dropout, Robel.
I appreciate it.
You done
Thank
good.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
No, man, it's my great honor. You done good. Good to have you on this program. Thank you for your time. All the best to you, and we look forward to talking to you when Volume 2 comes out.
Okay, all right, that's a bet.
All right, well, Bill, good to have you on this program. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. The Palisades and Eaton wildfires could become the second costliest U.S. natural disaster after Hurricane Katrina, with estimated economic losses of $95 to $164 billion and uninsured losses of $75 billion. President Trump at the National